said I want to be number one. Little did I know that I would, It's hard to imagine that now because we're so far removed from it that it's almost hard to percent. I think sports has always been on the front of social change and social progress.
Crowds at Indian Wells have surged around Alex Eala's matches, a phenomenon that tournament organizers and analysts say reflects a rapidly growing global fan base around the Filipino star. A phenomenon so unexpected that Martina Navratilova herself was left at a loss during a pre-tournament WTA interview. This wasn't an accident. A 19-year-old from Manila quietly dismantled every demographic assumption the WTA's marketing machine had built over decades. Social media engagement around Eala has surged during the tournament, with her press conferences and tournament videos drawing unusually high viewership online. What caught Navratilova's attention wasn't the sellout itself, it was who filled those seats. Filipinos, Southeast Asians, and a surging Gen Z fan base bypassed streaming entirely, paying prices for physical proximity to history. Subscribe now for forensic tennis analysis that goes beyond the highlight reel, breaking down what mainstream coverage consistently misses. Because the real story isn't the sold-out stadium. It's why Navratilova's reaction reveals a generational fault line splitting professional tennis wide open. And that breakdown starts right now. Sunday night at Stadium 1 in Indian Wells, California, and the crowd had been waiting for hours. When Alex Eala walked onto that court against Coco Gauff, the atmosphere inside the BNP Paribas Open's main arena was unlike anything most veteran tennis observers had witnessed for a player ranked around number 32 in the world. Filipino flags dominated the lower sections. Chants broke out before the first ball was even struck. This was a partisan crowd, loud, organized, and unwilling to sit quietly regardless of the hour. What followed confirmed that Eala's momentum entering this match was real. She dismantled Gauff in the opening set 6-2, exposing the American's chronic serve troubles. The Filipina's left-handed serve was generating awkward angles that disrupted Gauff's return rhythm. Consistently, and her drop shot selection drew gasps from the crowd on multiple occasions. Late in the opening set, Gauff called for a medical timeout, clutching her left arm. She described the sensation afterward as feeling like her arm was on fire. Gutsy as ever, Gauff retaped the injury and came back out for the second set. But after dropping the first two games, the Grand Slam champion made the difficult decision to retire from the match. Eala has now recorded wins over Grand Slam champions including Iga Swiatek, Madison Keys, and Jelena Ostapenko, while advancing past Coco Gauff via retirement in Indian Wells across her young career. She advances to the round of 16 at Indian Wells, where Linda Noskova awaits. Yet the result itself, as significant as it is, represents only half the story unfolding in California this week. To understand what is happening at Indian Wells right now, it is necessary to rewind approximately 12 months. At this exact point in 2025, Alex Eala was ranked outside the top 100 in the world, a promising junior graduate from the Rafa Nadal Academy, but still largely unknown to mainstream tennis audiences. Then came Miami. Entering as a wild card, she defeated Ostapenko, Keys, and the Iga Swiatek in succession, reaching the WTA 1000 semifinal without anyone in the tennis establishment having written that script in advance. The fan base that mobilized behind her during that run was immediate, passionate, and unprecedented for a Filipina tennis player. From that breakthrough, the trajectory accelerated. At the 2025 US Open, Eala became the first player from the Philippines in the Open era to win a Grand Slam main draw match. Later that year, she became the first Filipina and first Filipino to reach a WTA Tour final, doing so later that season. Each milestone carried a social media detonation back home, and increasingly in Filipino communities spread across 6 continents. The crucial context that the mainstream tennis press has been slow to fully address is demographic. Over 10 million Filipinos live outside the Philippines. Of those, over 1 million are based in California, the state that hosts Indian Wells every March. This is not a coincidental overlap. When Eala competes in the California desert, she is effectively playing in front of the largest concentration of her most devoted supporters anywhere outside Southeast Asia. Longtime Filipino sports journalist TJ Manutok framed it precisely for Front Office Sports. The Philippines had been hungry for a successor to Manny Pacquiao, an athlete capable of commanding national attention the way boxing once did. Eala arrived into that vacuum at exactly the right moment with the right temperament and through a sport that had never before produced a Filipino name at this level. Before Indian Wells began, Martina Navratilova sat down with the WTA to assess the new generation threatening to destabilize the established order. Her assessment of Eala was characteristically precise and worth examining carefully, because it reveals both what the 18-time Grand Slam champion admires and where she believes a genuine ceiling still exists. "She's crafty," Navratilova told the WTA. "She's a good lefty. She uses her variety nicely." That framing, crafty, varied, intelligent, is a specific kind of compliment from Navratilova. It acknowledges tactical sophistication without yet conferring the status of physically dominant force. For a player with Eala's slight build and left-handed game, variety is indeed the engine that drives her results against bigger serving opponents. The serve, however, is where Navratilova drew the line most clearly. "I think where she can improve the most is her serve, or make it pay off more," she said. "She needs a bigger serve and bigger kick. She's got the slice down pat, just believe and hold her ground. She is slight of build, so it's harder for her to absorb all that pace, but I think she can beef up a little and punch up that serve." Eala's first serve percentage in the Yastremska match was functional rather than dominant, and she produced 4 double faults. An improvement on earlier performances, but still an area that higher-ranked opponents will continue to target aggressively. The Gauff match, though shortened by retirement, actually showcased Eala's serve working well. Her left-handed angles were effective enough that Gauff's return game never found its footing in the opening set. Whether that represents progress on Navratilova's prescription or simply a favorable matchup dynamic will become clearer as the draw tightens. The fan demand story surrounding Eala in 2026 has now moved beyond anecdote into documented commercial reality, and the figures coming out of multiple tournaments are genuinely striking. At Dubai in February, the WTA 1000 tournament director Salah Tahlak confirmed publicly that Eala attracted an entirely new demographic to the event and that the stadium was sold out for all her matches. "People were desperately trying to get tickets," Tahlak told ESPN, "but they were all gone." This was not a one-match spike. It persisted across her entire run at the tournament. Indian Wells has followed an identical pattern, but on a larger scale. The BNP Paribas Open is historically the most attended tennis event outside the 4 Grand Slams, often described as the 5th slam, and it draws genuine superstars. Yet when Eala practiced at noon on a Tuesday before her first match, hundreds of Filipino supporters packed the practice court beside her. On the adjacent courts, Alexander Zverev and Taylor Fritz, the 2021 BNP Paribas Open champion and a Southern California native, drew noticeably smaller crowds of spectators. The contrast was not subtle. BNP Paribas Open executive Philippe Dor was unambiguous when speaking to Front Office Sports. "We love every minute of it. We benefit from it. We promote it." The tournament posted a day-in-the-life video featuring Eala on their official YouTube channel. It became one of the most-watched tournament videos of the event of the 2026 event. Indian Wells also promoted its Class of 2026 on Instagram, listing 9 women, 7 top 10 seeds, 1 prominent American, and Eala, the only non-top 10 player on the list. Eala's Australian Open press conference earlier this year recorded approximately 196,000 views, reportedly drew significantly more views than several other player press conferences and more than 6 times the views generated by eventual men's champion Carlos Alcaraz. World number 1. Aryna Sabalenka's Melbourne press conference attracted around 9,000 views. These numbers do not happen organically without a fan base of unusual size and dedication driving them. Analysts say Eala's growing presence in tennis crowds reflects a demographic shift in the sport. The Filipino diaspora numbers more than 10 million worldwide, creating a global fan network that has begun showing up in visible numbers at tournaments from Dubai to California. Tournament officials have described the situation as a good problem, one where a young player is bringing new audiences into the sport. After her opening win over Yastremska, Eala spoke to reporters just before midnight, still absorbing the atmosphere that had surrounded a grueling 2-hour 43-minute three-set battle, the longest match of that day. "It means the world to have this community behind me in such a prestigious tournament," she said. "For them to make the effort to stay up late and stay in the cold and cheer me on, it really added to the feelings and the emotions after the match." Earlier in the week, speaking to BNP Paribas Open Media, she had framed her broader mission. "I've only dreamed of making tennis grow in the Philippines, and now I'm bringing a whole new audience to tennis all around the world." Fans interviewed for that same video admitted to renewing tennis channel subscriptions specifically for Eala's matches, and to nothing else. Coco Gauff, who lost to Eala in Dubai last month, addressed the situation directly to the packed court after that match. "I'd like to thank Alex for bringing a new demographic to the sport. I really appreciate it. I think it's great." Coming from one of tennis's most commercially powerful young stars, that acknowledgement carries weight that no tournament press release could manufacture. Eala now faces Linda Noskova in the round of 16 at Indian Wells, a match that will almost certainly be assigned to one of the tournament's larger venues, given what the crowd demand data has shown through the first two rounds. Beyond Indian Wells, the Miami Open awaits, the tournament where Eala's ascent began 12 months ago. Defending semifinal ranking points, there will be a significant challenge, and the draw will not be kind simply because the fan base is loud. What is becoming increasingly clear, however, is that the commercial and competitive dimensions of Eala's 2026 season are developing simultaneously, and the tennis establishment, from tournament directors to broadcast executives, is paying close attention. Her current ranking sits at number 32. A deep run at Indian Wells could potentially push her into the top 30 for the first time, a threshold that changes seeding calculations for the clay court season and Roland Garros beyond it. The serve development that Navratilova outlined as the key unlock remains the variable most worth watching. A bigger kick serve on clay could make Eala genuinely dangerous on a surface where her left-handed slice already creates natural geometric advantages off the baseline. If you have followed this breakdown to the end, then forensic tennis analysis, not highlight clips, not hot takes, is what drives your understanding of the sport. That is exactly what this channel delivers every time a match of this magnitude unfolds. Subscribe now and hit the notification bell so the next deep dive reaches you before the mainstream narrative takes over. Share this video with one tennis fan who still hasn't discovered what is happening on the WTA Tour in 2026, because this story is accelerating fast and the Indian Wells round of 16 is only the next chapter. The full arc is far from finished.